Thank you for joining us for our first discussion. Incidentally, I have an expert, someone who understands the dynamics of the power sector, to help us create context for the conversation we're having this morning. Incidentally, we could not bring in the public affairs manager of BDC to the program this morning because he has to be talking about similar issues elsewhere as we speak. So we want to see how we can create a context for this discussion and try to wrap our heads around many of these nagging issues with distribution. I'm joined by Fabian Oaniche, is a power sector expert. Thank you for coming on the program. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Okay, let's begin first. Let's talk about, I don't want us to talk about twice on radio, but let's focus on the chain, the value chain itself. There has been back and forth. Yeah, there has been back and forth between, amongst the three aspects of the value chain, from generation to transmission to distribution. Where exactly, at what point do we have a broken link?
Okay, the truth is that none of them has taken full responsibility.
Okay.
But we have broken link mostly at the distribution sector of the value chain. Oh. The generator guys will always generate. Okay. They tell you that they have generated, they have a lot of capacity, but it has not been invested. Mm. The transmission guys will tell you, we have transmitted, our structures are there. The distribution guys are not buying from them. So that is where we are having the issue. And it still goes back. The generator guys could come and say, we are not been able to generate, we have issues with gas, and the transmission guys could come that their power line is broken down and a whole lot of things. But it goes to show that the infrastructures are getting old. Okay. They are getting old. The whole process should be revamped. Then the DISCO, the distribution guys, have not been able to market themselves. They have those products. The generators have produced this product. The DISCOs have not been able to sell. Sell as in do real business with it. What they do is...
Even though there is the market.
Even though there is the market. Power is a market that is limitless and endless. It's a market that is growing. We are entering into what we call the fourth industrial revolution, and it's being powered by electricity, by power. Right. So there is a ready market. There is a very big market, but they've not understood the dynamics of the business. They've not been able to sell power. They've not been able to know that make this power available, people will pay for it. What they are trying to do is, well, we have a very good commodity that you need. Let's see how we can rip it off as much as we can without even making it available. Okay,
there's an issue here that we need to straighten out. From the angle of the DISCOs now, they also talk about their own constraints that they have, their peculiar challenges they are dealing with most times. Of course, you already made an allusion to weak infrastructure, old infrastructure that need an upgrade or total overhaul, as it were. Can we shy away from the genuine difficulties that these DISCOs also have to grapple with?
Yes, the difficulties basically are created by them because they are in business. And if I want to sell a product to you, I have to make, I have to create every facility that I need to convey the product to you. It's not my business to create a facility. If I'm marketing a product, I need a road to get that product to you. I have to look for a way to get an access route to your house. Right. Make sure that the roads are tarred. Make sure that I have a good vehicle that can convey the goods to you. Now, I won't sit down in my shop or in my office and be complaining I don't have a vehicle to convey the goods to you. Now, that's my business. Right. So you see what the telecom guys have been able to do? They came down, they set up their infrastructures. There was no infrastructure for them before.
They started from the ground up.
They started from the ground up. They set up their infrastructure. They were ready for business. Now you are their beck and their call. If you want their service, you are the one that goes to them. They have everything available to supply you. Right. So whatever infrastructural problem that they are complaining of is their problem because this section has been sold to them. They are a private entity. They should get money from wherever, get money from private organizations outside the country
to address the funding gap, right?
Yes,
so in essence, what you're saying is we can also replicate in the power sector whatever it is that has been accomplished in the telecom sector,
exactly, right? That's what we are saying.
But let's get a bit laser focused now.
Okay.
Why is billing such a protracted issue?
Okay, this is why billing is a protracted issue. Our society, we have a society where we'll be given this mindset that government subsidizes almost everything. Almost power to any public utilities you can see. And now this government, without changing the people's mindsets, it's now selling up everything to the private sector. And the this money, it should get its money back. But the people are not used to paying the right value for it. So the people are not used to pay the right value for it. So that's why this billing is a serious issue. Power is not free anywhere in the world. Power should be sold. These guys are in business. They are generating, they are buying, then they are giving you a service, which you should pay at the right price. Now, because we are not used to paying things at the right price, because of the society we had where government was subsidizing everything, increasing price, increasing the billing makes it difficult for us to just accept. More so when the product is not available. Power is not available because what they are doing now is really confusing. Power is not available and you're increasing the price. So why are you increasing the price?
So is that a misplacement of priorities?
Honestly, it's a misplacement of priorities. What the government should have done is to get these guys to make this power available. First. You don't put the cart before the horse. Get the power available, make sure it's available, it's everywhere, everybody can access it. Then, when it's available and people have seen the benefits, then you can now increase the price.
Let's talk about billing still. Most Nigerians do not seem to be able to keep up with the pace at which they are built, or the system of billing. So most Nigerians don't even know what kilowatt it is they're using per time, what they're paying for each kilowatt, for example. You know, all of those nitty-gritty elements, they do not understand these things. That in itself, it's a factor, right? And then you have what some persons have come to call arbitrary charges. You have estimated billing, and so on and so forth. All of these can become, have become menacing factors for the sector, haven't they?
Yes, they've become serious factor because the NEC, the appropriate body, have not done the first job they should do, educating Nigerians on billing. What is a kilowatt hour of power? Right. When we say you want to increase the tariff from 31 kilowatts, 31.8, that's what they are charging currently now per kilowatt hour.
That's 31 naira, 80 kobo.
80 kobo. Okay. 86 kobo precisely per kilowatt hour. They are going to increase it to 40 naira, 50 kobo per kilowatt hour. What does a kilowatt hour translate to? They don't know.
For an average consumer.
For an average consumer. Now let me make an example. If you live in, let's say, a small house and you have 2 ceiling fans. You have 2 ceiling fans. A ceiling fan is 120 watts. Right. You have 2 ceiling fans, that's 240 watts. If you run your ceiling fan, that's 240 watts now. If you run your ceiling fan for 1 hour, which means you have consumed 0.24 kilowatt hour. 0.24 kilowatt hour. Right. If you run your ceiling fan for 10 hours, you've consumed 2.4 kilowatt hour. Now, if they are billing you at, say, 40 naira per kilowatt hour, and you run your ceiling fans for 2.4, your ceiling fan consumption now is 2.4 kilowatt hour. For 10 hours? Yes, for 40 naira for 10 hours. Yes. It means you've consumed 2.4 times 40. That's almost 100 naira. Yes. So you spent 100 naira to run your ceiling fan for 10 hours in a day. Sounds like every Nigerian needs to have a calculator to get around all this. So you spent 100 naira in a day to run your ceiling fan. Now if you run that ceiling fan for 30 days, you spent 3,000 naira to run your ceiling fan in 30 days. Right. That's what it means. Now if you do the same calculation for your load, yourself you know that, okay, this is what I'm spending to run my load in a month. Now, you come to do comparison. If I'm going to run this same load with a diesel generator, what am I going to spend? We've calculated that we've seen that Nigerians actually spend 150 naira per kilowatt hour running diesel generator in a day, in a month. So if the cost of electricity is 31.86, running the normal tariff, running generator, you are spending 150 naira per kilowatt hour. So running generator is a no-no.
That's a foul cry.
That's a foul cry. That is very expensive.
Right.
So, but the NEC, the organization in charge, should explain to us, this is what we are charging you.
Okay, let me ask you something now, just to help us perhaps open up this conversation a bit more, right? Do you think, sincerely, as a stakeholder, that metering, universal metering, will address this issue?
Yes, metering is the only thing that will address this issue. Now, people are complaining for two things. They are being given estimated billing.
Okay.
They don't know what they are using. You just wake up, like in my house, I just woke up one day and they brought an outrageous bill and told me that my monthly bill is 40,000 naira. I was shocked.
What was it before then, on the average?
Before then, on the average, because I was actually monitoring what I was using, on the average, I was spending less than 5,000 naira, between 4,000 and 5,000 naira, worst case scenario, in a month. Okay. And suddenly they came and they said, your monthly bill is 20,000. The next month it was 40,000. I was shocked. Now, this is what the metering will do. When you are metered and you are able to see that at the end of the month, this is what I am spending, you come back to look at your consumption and you ask yourself, do I need to run this fan for 10 hours? Do I need to run this lights for 24 hours? Do I need my fridge to be on 24 hours? The fridge is frozen, I don't need to run 24 hours. So Nigerians are able to control their consumption. They cut down load, they cut down unnecessary load, and at the end of the day, they cut down what they are paying. Even if the government, for example, increases to 40 naira per kilowatt hour, and you're able to manage your load, you cut down waste, you cut down everything that is unnecessary, you may end up not paying more than 5,000 naira or even more than 3,000 naira for a typical small household in a month. Now, compared to using generator, you see that that is something almost everybody can afford. So the first thing is make the power available, educate the people very well on what you are billing them. It will give them the opportunity to say, okay, we don't need this equipment, we don't need to run this. The children should not on the television overnight because they are spending power. Now everybody has a control over their system. The issue won't be crying that the billing is too much. Rather, we should be looking at this power should be made available because the alternatives are not cheaper. That's just the truth.
We know that a lot of efforts so far have been made to ensure that metering is accomplished, right? Yep. We understand there's a timeline for meter rollout. There's the meter asset provider, something, the map, scheme and all that. We have all of those in place, but this whole thing continues to look like a rocket science.
Well, it's not actually rocket science. It's simple. It just shows that some persons does not want it to work because if you get it to work, in the long run, the generation company, they are going to make their money. Now, Nigeria is not the only country in the world. Other countries in the world are making money by generating power and selling power.
But why would anyone not want consumers to be metered? I mean, what do they stand to lose if people get metered?
I don't know the whole politics that is involved. It's really strange that they don't even want consumers to be metered. Okay. It's really, really strange. It shows that some people are not doing the right thing, and some people are looking at getting some money from shortcuts. Because metering is one thing that will solve everything.
I guess you've heard arguments from some people, maybe some of your colleagues from the power sector, who say we can produce meters locally. I mean, the software, everything, I mean, proprietary software to drive the hardware itself, and of course, by extension, the industry. That's a possibility, isn't it?
Yes, a possibility. We have the technicalities, we have the experts, and there is one thing we are yet to put in place, because whatever meter you are going to produce should be standard. It should match with any meter that is coming from anywhere in the world. And we don't know if we have that standard organization, not our standard organization now, that standardization right here in the country.
Okay.
Those facilities should be available to be able to, okay, if we design our meter, we produce our meter, we run the software, which is very much available. Yeah. But it should be calibrated to match anywhere. So that if I take my meter to Ghana, it should be that I produced here. Yeah. I take it to Ghana, it should give the right thing. If I take it to Ghana, the organization should not reject it because it's not up to standard. So those bodies should be in place when these things are produced to check it, to calibrate it, and to make sure that they are reaching international standard. Is very, very critical.
Fabian Onitsha, thank you so much for coming to educate us on this very critical issue, because days before now, there have been several speculations all across town, I can almost say all across Nigeria, about how that there was already an increase in tariff. But as we understand today, that's something that's still in the works, because NEC, the lead regulator, is saying, hey, let's step on the brakes a little and then consult some more before we actually get to run circles around some of these issues. That's what we're leaving it for this morning. As the conversation continues, we will also push it forward and bring you up to speed on developments within the sector.